so it looks like we are live again. And if you're joining here with me, and if you've been a part of these last few master classes, then it probably means that you know that my background looks a little different. It is, in fact, not an AI image. It is actually my background that we actually changed and set up a new studio position for this camera and for the recording of these sessions. So since you're joining here with me today, I just want to say thank you. And I hope you genuinely get a lot out of the session today, because as we're making that transition from manager to leader, actually working through the process of it becoming better, who we are, holding our roles with powerful integrity and administrating them in a way that is very, very influential. We are learning about the critical role of doing meetings really, really well. So many people get this terribly wrong. So many people don't realize the impact that they're not having, that they should be having, because they administrate their meetings terribly wrong. And in fact, almost every organization that I have ever been in to date has not done this well. And if you're going to make that transition from manager to leader, and you're going to be holding that position and doing it with its full force and full impact and with incredible influence, then you must know what I'm going to talk about in this masterclass. Now, I've been leading for over 20 years, and it's very rare when I've actually seen anyone that's good at this. So as we work through it, as we talk through the slides today, I just want to kind of invite you to please make sure that you annotate some, take some notes, maybe take some mental notes if you have to, and screenshots of the stuff that's on the screen, because it's very, very important. If you're going to be running a business, if you're going to be charging forwards and being influential in any area of your business, that you get this right. It is the core activity of every leader. Okay, so let's not get this wrong. So we're going to go through the most important meeting rhythms for your business and what to do in those meetings. All right, so when I mention the word meeting, I want to ask you what comes to mind. So if you are in a place that you can actually type in the chat, when I mention the word meeting, we're having a staff meeting or a meeting in our organization, what does that bring to your mind? Does that sound like, oh my gosh, it's going to be long, it's going to be boring, this is mandatory? We had this thing in the Air Force that was called mandatory fun. Kind of eliminates the fun aspect when you make it mandatory, right? So many meetings are mandatory, and they're long, and they're rabbit trails. They're like, okay, the production manager and the guy who talks a lot, they stand up and they make a big scene. They stand on their soapbox and waste everybody's time in a pointless, useless, and frustrating seemingly meeting. And whether or not we like that, that is the reality in so many businesses that I see around the world today. And it shouldn't be the reality in your organization if you're going to be able to prosper and implement the strategies that cause you to prosper over time. So most people hate, or at the very least, highly dislike meetings. And by the time we get finished with this masterclass today, I hope that you kind of make the transition from hating or highly disliking to actually understanding the very powerful relevance of the meetings, and that you have the skills that you need to be able to operate effectively in those meetings. We've all participated in bad meetings. That's the truth, 100%. Even in some of the most professional organizations in the world that I've worked in, there's been terrible, terrible meetings. Just because a lot of times people don't know why and people don't know how. And we're going to knock those two out of the park in this masterclass today as well. So I want to mention that there is a vast, overwhelming opportunity hidden within the meetings of your organization, or in the meetings that should be happening in your organization that simply are not. And I want you to just understand that meetings, they should drive the most important decisions in your organization. Oh, sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. I've been recording videos and content for this will be my 4th hour by the time we finish this today. So bear with me if I get a little tongue-tied. All right, so the vast opportunity that we miss out within meetings, that if you're not having those great meetings and you're not implementing the right meetings in your organization, there are so many decisions that are not being made. There's so many follow-ups that are not being had. There's so much confusion that's being allowed to be run rampant through the organization or through your team simply because you are not leading meetings incredibly well. And it's not terribly difficult, but there are some key things that you have to remember, and we're going to go through those in just a bit. So if you're wondering who I am, if you've never been here before, I'd just like to welcome you to our channel. I want to welcome you to being with us during this masterclass today. My name is Jason Ellinger. I've been an entrepreneur for about 20 years in different capacities, from just getting the work done, actually doing the work, getting it done, and then finding work and actually going out and doing sales roles. And I've held other capacities as technicians, or I've held the other roles as CFO in the organization. And now I hold my position today, which is CEO, and I'm the CEO of Taika Translations and the Vision People. We're a multi-million-dollar translation and digital services company. We provide opportunities we provide the facilitation of digital services to companies all over, and entities and government entities all over the world. And so as I lead into this, I want you to know that this isn't theory for me. This isn't something that I just pulled out of my butt or pulled out of the air. This is actually practical content that I've learned, applied, and seen the results of furiously, sometimes at incredibly high stakes situations, and seen the application and how it plays out and how it impacts everyone in the organization and the entire project or the contract or the team in a very meaningful way. And so that's why our very next step in the process of creating a better leader, or creating a better leader out of you, or you becoming that leader who actually causes his organization or her organization to prosper. That's why this is the very next lesson that we have to go through and get good at. So moving to the next slide. So let me just give you some what ifs real quick. What if meetings were fun? Like actually fun. You looked forward to going to it. What if meetings drove huge revenue for your company, or opened and gave prospect to new ones? What if meetings drove relevant activity all the time throughout your organization? What if that was the reality of your meetings? And I'm here to testify that absolutely can be the case, and it should be the case in your organization as it is in mine. So here's some deep and underlining questions that as I was working through creating this content for you today, I just thought it would be good to outline these very important. Just kind of bring them to the surface. You might be thinking them. You might be thinking a version of such questions, and if you are, I want to address those very specifically because we have to address that this is a reality. Before we actually solve anything, before we go through the mechanism of actually bringing something to full circle and create a solution for it, we need to actually identify the truth, take an assessment of what the situation is up front that we're dealing with. So how can we move from all this negativity around meetings to actually good meetings? Is that even possible? And the answer is yes, that is absolutely possible. And how is going to be explained in the contents of this masterclass today. Are you willing to learn to do good surgery? That's a question for you. I'd like you to answer that question. If you're listening in even after the online live version of this, if you're listening in, just type in the chat, yes, I'm willing to do good surgery for my business. And I'll talk about what surgery means, and the actual surgeon metaphor in this section means for our business. And then the next question is, can we remove the dread of doing another meeting? And the answer to this question is an astounding absolutely yes. There is an absolute, incredible, powerful blessing, and incredible, powerful energy created, and a lack of dread when you do them incredibly well. And is there hope, or is this just my cross to bear throughout my career as I'm an executive, or I'm a leader on my team, or I do this or that, I hold this role in my organization? Is this just my cross to bear as I carry out this very kind of very specialized role within my company? And I'm here to say that it is your cross to bear. The answer is that. However, meetings don't have to be bad. They don't have to be a drudge, and they don't have to be something that you're discouraged by as you work through them. All right, the stark reality is this. Meetings are supposed to be where the magic happens in your business, where the decisions are made. For the businessman or the businesswoman, meetings are the surgery for the surgeon in your organization. Can you just imagine for a moment a surgeon? They go into their surgery department and they're driving their way to work and they're like, oh my gosh, I hate doing surgery. It is the worst part about my job. But they're literally a surgeon. And that is actually in the name of their very title, surgeon of, maybe they're a heart surgeon, or maybe they're a renal surgeon, or maybe there's some other kind of surgeon for the orthopedic surgeon, or some other kind of surgeon. But it's actually in their title, and they actually hate doing the work. Now, for the businessman or the businesswoman, it's not actually in our title. But for us, a surgeon doing surgery is the same as a businessman or businesswoman doing meetings. Meetings are the surgery for our organization. And if you despise surgery, you despise the very thing that causes your organization to prosper, that gives energy, provides clarity, and provides the foundation for every forward-moving mechanism throughout the organization. And if you despise that every day, imagine what's going to happen to your organization. Imagine that surgeon who completely despised doing surgery. Is he going to be the best freaking surgeon in the world and cause his organization to prosper? Or are they going to struggle? Or is he going to struggle? Or are the surgeries going to take longer? Or they're going to be more difficult? Or do you think they might be a little bit more prone to problems and challenges because he just has a negative tinge all the time about that area of life that he has to continually practice? And I just want to ask you that question very clearly, because you need to contemplate that in this area of meetings. It's very important to get this right. It's very important to not despise, to disdain, to not want to go to do another meeting. Because if you do, that means there's something wrong with the meeting that you're having, and it means that we need to change how we operate in them. And so we're going to go over that in a minute. So you are the surgeon for your organization. And now the question to you, are you actually any good at business surgery? If you're not, type in the chat, I'm working on it. And if you are, I applaud you. I hope you can still learn a few things from this masterclass today. All right, next slide. The big question: why are meetings boring and ineffective? You know, sometimes in our lives we ask God, why? And sometimes we feel like God's a little bit silent in replying to us. And we feel like, man, I sure wish I could get an answer. But the cool thing about the answer to this question is the cool thing about the answer to this question today is you can actually get the answer. I will give it to you. Why are meetings boring and effective? I'll give it to you right now. Listen up. Plain answer, number one. Because your meetings and my meetings in the past, they are not anymore, but my meetings in the past, in the mistaken spirit of professionalism, they lack. Told you I'm getting tongue-tied here. They lack drama and productive conflict. What? I thought we were supposed to abstain from all levels of conflict, frustration, or any heightened level of human interaction in our meetings. No, that is a terrible idea. Your meetings will be a failure if you do. Listen, out of these two, lack of drama and productive conflict, conflict is the most powerful required element and often creates some drama. Can you imagine, right? If we have conflict between the team members in the meeting, if we will have some level of drama, and that the fact that that's actually a good thing. And recently in a meeting we were sitting with, my wife is involved, very much involved in our family operated company, and she's in our company. And so when we are in the meetings, my wife and I are very clear about the fact that we treat each other the way we would want to be treated if we were in a meeting with anyone else. And so she treats me that way, I treat her that way, and we're very clear about that being a very important role that we each other plays as we work through our meetings. And so as we're working through the meetings, I could because I'm her husband and the other team members were making their communications and saying and going through their spiels and making their reports in this team meeting, I could understand that she was uncomfortable, upset, and not very happy with the thing that was being said. And because I'm the CEO of the organization and she is a CPO, I say, all right, Maggie, I see that you don't like what's happening here. You need to let us know, because if you don't say anything about it in the meeting, then we're not going to be able to deal with that And after the meeting, this is going to be said and done with. We'll make our decision and move forwards. So what do you not like? Let's deal with it right now. And that opened the door for a little bit of conflict. And so I want to mention to you as the leader, you as a manager in your organization, when you're having a meeting, if you can't open up comments like that to your team, then something is very, very wrong. Either they don't trust you, you don't trust them, or you haven't done the work necessary to build a team and build that vulnerability-based trust that I talked about in my previous masterclass. And so I urge you to go back and start learning that, how to do that, and then to start that implementation so that your meetings can actually be effective, because you cannot have productive conflict and good drama, correct drama in your meetings without vulnerability-based trust. Team members that trust each other on a fundamental level, that when they get at each other's throats a little bit in the meetings, we're not talking about mean-spirited, ugly cursing at each other and calling each other names. That's what I'm talking about. But I am talking about when somebody disagrees with this perspectives of the other, and somebody that has incredible talent and intuition sees somebody in the same section, in the same team, saying, well, we have to do this, this, and this, and this, and that person knows that that's a very futile pursuit that's not going to impact anyone for good, and that's not going to get not going to help the collective success of the team in that effort. I can see that there are some reservations, and so we have to draw those reservations out, because we're never going to drive home to the most impactful and clear decision that our team needs to make if we don't draw that conflict out. Because if you are doing your business right, if you're running your organization well, if you are leading your team well, then you have incredible people on your team. And if you're transitioning from manager to leader and trying to forge this new leadership personality in yourself, it means you have to be able to engage your team members on that vulnerability-based level, and then make sure that as you go through that conflict, that you hold the best interest of the organization, of the team, of the whole team at heart, and make sure that you drive to the conclusion that's best for the entire operation. Because every single one of your team members is incredibly skilled. They are incredibly talented. They have incredible insight. And if you hire them, they're probably very, very intelligent, because if you're watching this video, I know you're intelligent. So if that's the case, then it means you need to draw out that excellence in the team member when you see somebody a little frustrated, somebody a little unsettled, somebody who doesn't really appreciate what has been said. And I urge you to very powerfully and clearly engage them by saying, hey, so-and-so, I see that I see that this isn't going the way that you think it should go. I see that you really don't like that perspective. What is it about this situation that you don't agree with? Please speak now and help us all understand where you're coming from, because there's obviously some insight that you have that we are not knowing about, and we need to know it in order to make the best decision. And you give them permission and that moment to say, hey, I don't like this, and this is the reason that's not going to work. And then their counterpart has the opportunity to defend themselves or that idea and further expand on why. And once you get that, and once you have that operation happening again and again and again in your meetings, you start to have productive conflict, and the drama makes sense, and it drives to great conclusions, driving great results. All right, so some keys that you should know. You should, sorry, my voice is a little bit tired. So you should have both of these items on a routine basis in order for your both the drama and productive conflict on a routine basis, in order to make sure that you drive to conclusions. So it's the leader's job. It's not the teammate's job. It's not employees' jobs if you call them employees. It's not somebody else's job. It's you as the manager, you as the leader, who needs to draw out those conversations in your team and give permission continually, early and often, to your team to work through those very important discussions around what matters most and why things don't work, or why things should work, or why we should do things a little bit differently in order to get the right results. So to keep people engaged, these two things, they must exist all the time: productive conflict and drama. And you have to help the team with that. Now, if you avoid tension and you want to make sure that you end all the meetings all the time at the exact same time and never miss that deadline, this is always at the heart of bad meetings. I can tell a bad leader in a bad meeting if it's like, we will end the meeting on time no matter what, even if there's a very important topic that we need to that we haven't got to yet. And it probably means there's too many topics, by the way. And it also probably, and in that case, it probably means that there's not enough engagement from the entire team to really care about the topics that are being discussed. Now, I'm not saying that all meetings should go overboard. They shouldn't. And honestly, many times when you have productive conflict and the correct drama level in the actual facilitation of the meeting, then most of the times they even can end a little bit early if you do these well. But in the eventuality, and it will happen, that you do go long, nobody really cares because they know that you have been working so furiously on whatever it is that you're talking about that the conclusion will be a very effective outcome, and you will drive to activity that causes prosperity. And so nobody really cares about that. They will get the meeting. The meeting will conclude when it concludes, but they understand that if it's not concluded by that time, that's okay, because we're driving forwards with activity and results through productive conflict and drama. So when you introduce drama into your meetings, there's always two very important things that you start with. So before we mine for conflict, so mining for conflict actually happens in the meat of the meeting. As you're actually having the meeting, talking about the items, talking through the agenda, dealing with the stuff that's happening in the meeting, that's where conflict mining happens. And that's when you say, hey, Joe, or hey, Sally, or hey, Karina, you need to expand on that. You need to tell us why this doesn't work. You need to help us understand why you disagree with this, and really talk about and build out why what's wrong in the actual event of the meeting when things are already up and going. But the drama aspect really happens when you begin your meeting. And that's when you, as the leader, and especially managers, if you're transitioning from manager to leader, this is one of the biggest mistakes we make. We get in our meeting and we go straight to the agenda and we say, okay, we have this, and this about our meeting, and we have to accomplish this today in our meetings. Thank you very much. Juan, my trusty, awesome video man, is helping me today by delivering us some water. So thank you very, very much. I needed that. Thank you. Awesome. All right. So as you initiate your meetings, this is one of the biggest mistakes managers make when they're transitioning from manager to leader. So they don't dramatize the meeting. What does that look like? So manager, if you're learning to be a leader and you're trying to make that transition and be very impactful and effective for your team, you need to learn to do this, whatever meeting section you're going into. And I do this every single week, multiple times. So I go into the meeting and we're having a meeting, for example, with our marketing and sales team. And we have a meeting every single Friday to discuss the actions that we took and the impacts that it had and the actions that we're going to take. Imagine a meeting where you talked about that stuff and actually got real data information and drove to results in that kind of meeting. Pretty cool, pretty fun. But listen, before that meeting, what I do as a leader, I open up the floor and say, look, guys, this meeting is a meeting where when we do our work well, our organization prospers. When we don't do our work well, everyone in our team takes longer to get their salary. Everyone in our team who's trying, I'm trying to pull this from my head because normally I do it live and in person in front of our team. So now I'm doing it live and in person in front of you, and it's like a fake example. So it's a little bit more difficult for me, but all right, I'm doing it anyways. I'm going to dramatize this. So, all right, guys. So we've been focusing on these couple areas over the past few weeks, and these are the results we've seen over the past few weeks. However, as we look at the meeting today, we need to see some different results. If we're going to be growing our organization and hitting our sales goals this year, it's going to happen because the work and the decisions that we make right now in this meeting. And if all of you are not engaged and I'm not engaged in what's happening right here in this meeting right now, then this meeting will fall flat on its face. And you know what happens from that? Our team members don't get to have raises when they should have raises. Our families don't get to go on some of those really cool vacations from the bonuses that we get for the profit share that we do. Our organization doesn't hit our sales goals, and we don't go to that next level that we're dreaming of, and we can't impact the people who we set out to impact in this company. Now, as we start this meeting off, I just want to demonstrate. I just want to remind you all of that because this meeting is important, and the decisions that we make today matter. And if we don't make right ones and we make the wrong ones, it really impacts every single one of us. So, with that in mind, let's get to the contents of the meeting and then we go forwards. So, that's a mistake you can never make. So, make sure that you, as a leader, as you transition from manager to leader, you learn that skill to dramatize the meeting. And it's your responsibility. Why does everybody need to be in this meeting? Why should everybody care? Explain it very, very clearly and basically every time. Now, listen, it will be, excuse me, it will be a little bit awkward at first. You do have to learn how to do this. If you've never done it before, you'll probably kind of suck at it at first, and that's okay. The main point is that you start to get good at it, because when you do this, you help the people understand why they should care, and then they get engaged. So many people meetings suffer for nobody caring, nobody engaging, and people really literally wondering, why in the world am I in this meeting? It's a waste of time. And that's not what you want to do in your business, because every ounce of time invested by every single team member that you have costs money. And when everything costs money, if that activity isn't making money, you're losing money. And that's absolutely vital in operating any business meeting. So I'm not saying that all business is only about money and there's no vision involved. There's definitely vision involved. Remember, I talked about the raises for our families, the vacations for our families, the impact that we're making in our community. And those are all important. And we can't do all of those things if we don't make money. So if we have team members connected, understanding why they're there, engaged, and understanding that the decisions that they actually make in this meeting, and there will be decisions made, not just broadcasts of information, then we will actually see a change in our organization, a change in the way people engage, the people feel, and the people react, and the better quality of decisions that come out of all of these meetings that we're having. So make sure you dramatize the meeting. And after you dramatize the meeting, mine for conflict. It means you're going around like with a mine detector. You as the leader, as the manager who's becoming a leader, you're going around and leading, as you lead your team forward, you're like checking for mines. Mines are unresolved conflicts. Uncover constructive ideological conflict within the team. When you have ideological conflict in the team, and it's just smoldering behind somebody's face and not coming out and being talked about, being aired so that people actually can engage in that, then it's causing damage to the organization, because those conflicts engage team members. Why can we stay engaged in a movie 2 hours long? But as soon as somebody stands up in front of a meeting and starts talking about the organization, all of a sudden we fall asleep. It's because there's no drama and nobody is bringing out that constructive ideological conflict as we're driving forwards. And that's your job. Your very purpose as a leader in any of these meetings is to draw out that, not just broadcast information to everyone. It's to draw out that the conflict within the team members so that you can drive forwards with better decisions. So this keeps the team engaged, leads to more passionate discussions, and ultimately much better decisions are made. And when you can make better decisions in your organization, you change the trajectory. Better decisions equals better surgery for the surgeon and better outcomes for the patient. And the patient is your business. You're doing surgery for your business in the meetings. Now, plain answer number 2. The all-in-one staff meeting. Black, please shoot me already. Somebody kill me if we have to have an all-in-one meeting stew where everything matters and no one gets to actually drive to any decisions. That means we have a meeting where we discuss marketing, finance, sales, and every other aspect of our business in one meeting, and we just have this kind of broadcast of information, and everybody's sitting there at the end of the meeting like, and that's it. It was just a newscast. Well, sometimes sometimes in the organization all right, no. All right, there are different types of meetings, and we'll talk about when you broadcast information and when you kind of more work through discussions in the meetings, in the information through in the meet. Sorry, I'm getting tongue tied again. In the meetings, but the point is that when you start these meetings and you drive forwards with information, just broadcasting all types of information that doesn't apply to everyone and who's attending the meeting, and you start putting everybody to sleep, you degrade in how you make great in the decisions that you're making. So now, what has worked for me in my company as I've gone through 20 entrepreneurship, learning, growing, learning a lot of times the hard way, is doing more meetings, not less. You're like, what? I thought this was going to be a course, a master class on how to do great meetings and hopefully do less of them. No, actually, you need to get really good at doing the meetings, and then you need to do more of them, more types of meetings, not more meetings of the same drudgery, more types of meetings that are very specific and focused around different things. And I'm going to unpack that in just a minute. To do these effectively, you do have to have a team that has vulnerability-based trust, and I discussed that in the last video. Make sure you go and check that out. Now, these are all meeting routines that you need to introduce into your company, into the operations that you have. Now listen, one is a daily stand-up team meeting. This is a 10 to 15-minute meeting. And in this meeting, you have individual or team squads that work together directly, standing up each and every day and giving updates on the progress and challenges that they face, or the task that they're working to accomplish by the end of the day. The actual thing that they're working to deal with, overcome, create, and finish. And this is very important, and it's a team connector, a time saver, and drives to incredible clarity, because you simply, each team member, they stand up and they got 60 seconds to say, hey, I'm working on this, and I'm working on this, and this is what I want to have done by the end of the day. And by the way, I need John's help. John, could you make sure that you connect with me later on this? Okay, boom, done. Next person. You have an internal team communication message this is an opportunity where you could share some very, very important information, but very, very brief, very, very quick. Hey guys, the meeting this Thursday was changed to Friday. Make sure you change your calendars for that. Got it? Good. Let's move on. Okay, and then we just briefly every single day gather the team that works together on whatever it is they work on together, whether it's sales and marketing, whether it's finance, whether it's production or human resources, whatever the section is. You stand up and say, hey, these are the things we're working on today. Everybody gets to give their real quick spiel, say if they needed help on anything, and boom, they move on. And that's a very quick 10 to 15-minute meeting, increases productivity, and causes you to be able to prosper faster than ever before. And if somebody has a little conflict in that meeting, or somebody doesn't like something, or somebody is unclear about the work that they were supposed to be doing, it happens really quickly right there in that meeting. Oh, weren't you supposed to work on that other thing? We talked about that on Friday. It seems like that's not on your list for today. What happened with that? Oh, yeah, I'm going to get it. And so you get to move forwards with that. So this is the very first meeting routine that you can introduce. It'll increase productivity really quickly. And this is exactly what you do. If you need to, take a screenshot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Next slide. All right. I am going to see if there's any questions in the chat at this moment. I want to make sure I address those. Okay, I know there is a question. I'm looking at the private chat at this right now. If you do have a question, by the way, I would like you to please drop that in the comments below. I will check that out and make sure to answer that question. So here we go. We got a question from Jake here, and he says, how do you differentiate as a leader between good, productive conflict and maybe a team member that just wants to pick a fight and dump all their problems onto the team? Hey, man, that's a really good question. Thank you so much for bringing that to the team. And I think that we're going to find the answer in a little bit further in this meeting content. But I will start by saying something just changed here. Hold on, it turned blue. Okay, I got it. Okay. Okay, now I see it. I will start by saying that some team members, if they do actually want to pick fights or dump problems onto the whole team, So your job as a leader is to acknowledge, is to look for those, and early and often always be on the lookout for those types of situations when you're with your team, and when they constantly, you realize that they are constantly doing that, you get to take them aside and address it individually. And that's how I would do that initially. Now, if it keeps happening again and again in that open forum, then I would address it in the meeting. I would say, hey, John, here you are. You're bringing this thing to the team again, and it feels like you're dumping your work on the rest of the team. I'd really like you to explain how that's not the case. And if it is the case, that's not what we do here. So please stop doing that. And when you do that, now I don't ever reprimand anybody in public ever, as much as possible. However, but when somebody is blatantly again and again, after you've already talked to them about it in private, doing it again and again, doing that in a public setting, it definitely starts to you have the permission basically to go ahead and say, hey, John, I see that this is happening. It seems like you're doing that. Please explain to the team why that's not the case. And if it is the case, I'd like you to stop doing that. And that's a very quick, very fast, happens in the moment, because the person understands that you have their best interest in mind, and because they're a humble, hungry, smart team member. We'll talk about that in another lesson. You can see a masterclass that I made about that. Not a masterclass, but it was in a video series they made a while back. You can check that one out, about being an ideal team player. And then you can easily and effectively address those in the moment. So when I have problems like that with our team members, and when there's behavioral issues like that, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to address it in the one-on-one. And that's the item that's on the screen right now. So when I see such a situation, and as a leader, as a manager transitioning to leader, you had better be on the lookout for these types of situations, because it's not if they're going to happen, it's absolutely when they're going to happen. And that's why you have the leadership role. That's why you've been placed in that role, to police your organization, to make sure that when those things happen, they're dealt with, because nobody likes to work in an organization when a leader is spineless and doesn't deal with undermining the issues that undermine the operations, or undercut the team, or cause disrespect between the team members or the leadership. Nobody likes to work in that type of an organization. And if that is the environment, it'll get more and more toxic until either the organization degrades or the team member leaves. Maybe of their own accord, it may be you helping them out the door, but that may be the case. That may be what is required. So look, the way we deal with exactly Jake's question is we do weekly one-on-ones. If there is something that has eliminated more problems, more performance problems in our team, and given me more nights of sleep back in my life from any other meeting that I've ever implemented, it is this one right here, and it's the one-on-one. And this is a meeting where we get to talk about what you were supposed to do. So this is a leader talking to their direct reports. So at every level of leadership, there are leaders with direct reports, and those leaders talk to their direct reports every single week about this. The meeting is 30 to 60 minutes long, and this is what you do in that meeting. What were you supposed to do this week? You ask that question. What did you do this week? What must be done between this week and next week, this meeting and next meeting? And what help do you need from me? What roadblocks are you facing? And then you talk about a core value somewhere throughout the process. Oh, that aligns with our core value of never giving up. Hang in there, keep going. I know you can do it. You might mention that. And so in this meeting, I'll talk about these things. In the first 5 minutes, we have a discussion about how the weekend went. We go over their weekly report, because every team member submits a weekly report. How did the week go? What was going on with them this past weekend? Did they have a good week, a bad week, indifferent? What's going on with them? And then we get to have an opportunity to say, hey, look, John, I noticed that you are continually dumping your workload on the rest of the team. And the rest of the team really doesn't appreciate that. I've talked to some of the other members of the team, and they've noticed that you do it every single week. And so, have you noticed anybody else doing that? No. Would you please stop doing that? And if you do that 3 or 4 or 5 times in a row, because it's not going to happen on the first time, you're going to say that the first time, and they're going to go out. He's going to go on his merry way, and he's like, okay, I'm going to stop doing that for a little bit. And then 2 or 3 weeks are going to go by and old habits die hard, right? So it's going to start coming back into the operations. And then it's your job as a leader immediately when you see that activity again, go to him and say, hey, John, we talked about this in your one-on-one. Pull him aside and say, hey, John, we talked about this in your one-on-one, that you keep dumping stuff on the rest of the team, and we don't appreciate that. And that's not who we are here. We know that you have enough time to get this work done. Is there something wrong where you're not either hearing my message or being able to get that work done in the appropriate amount of time during your work day? Why are you keeping dumping on that rest of the team when we know you can do this? And if you do that 2 or 3 times, one of two things is going to happen. He's going to change, or he's going to continue doing the same thing. In which case, you need to take it a step further and either help him understand that he needs to go ahead and leave, or in most cases, and this is what I've seen happen most often, when you continually have to remind the team member that they can no longer practice that activity in your organization, they can no longer do that thing, they leave themselves. That's the most advantageous. They decide that they can't prosper in this environment with continually being reminded that they cannot do that, because they cannot do that, because it is not helpful for the rest of the team. And that's how you deal with the issue that Jake just mentioned in the chat. Thank you very much. That's an excellent question. All right, so the third meeting that you need to implement, and by the way, I just want to put a note here. Do not try to implement these all at once. It will be a nightmare. You will be overwhelmed, and then you will stop doing them. Initiate one of these at a time. Start every 2 or 3 weeks and start initiating the new meetings. And you will hear a lot of moaning and groaning in your organization. However, you need to explain to them, look, I'm going to get really good at facilitating these meetings. I'm actually working on being better at dramatizing these meetings and engaging people and making sure that I mine for conflict. And as we go through this process and we introduce more meetings, these meetings, I promise you, they're going to be impactful and effective. And it's up to you, young leader, who's transitioning from being a manager, to actually make that implementation happen, actually follow through with your words. And when people see you follow through with your words again and again and again, and those meetings actually start to become more effective, and you drive to decisions that are not a waste of time, you don't waste everybody's time, you don't have this big meeting stew, you actually dramatize, work out the conflicts, drive to cool decisions really quickly, again and again and again, you have incredible results. So let's move to the next meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. In the weekly tactical meeting, you have a lightning round. You review the key success metrics. And this is, so the weekly tactical meeting is the meeting where a team attends this specific meeting. The first meeting was a daily stand-up. The second meeting was a one-on-one that you and the team member has individually. You have one with each of your team every single week. Never skip a week. Never don't do it. I know that's a double negative. You can't say that. But anyways, and then we go into the third weekly tactical meeting, and that's where you gather a small squad of team members in a section, and then you go over a lightning round where they say what they're working on, what challenges they face this week, and what help they need from the other team members, or maybe from somebody else in the organization. And they have 60 seconds to make the report, and you go around the room. You build a real-time agenda from everything that you heard. So that means you, as a leader, are so attentively listening to what everybody's saying that you can make a real-time agenda in front of everyone. And now you can resolve issues, reinforce clarity on the spot, make sure that somebody's not doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, focusing on something they're not supposed to be doing, and actually driving forward to completion or resolution of something in lightning speed. And that happens in a very, very fast pace. And so the length of this meeting is up to 60 minutes typically. And so you're not going to need a lot more time than that, because when every person takes 1 minute, goes through the different items, you build a real-time agenda based on real issues that people are facing in the organizations as you're working. You resolve the issues and reinforce the clarity around what you're doing. And then you limit the conversation to very short-term topics. We're not talking about strategic items. And when somebody brings up a strategic item, you say, that's a strategic item. As a leader, you say, that's not on the table for this discussion. We're working on these issues, and let's drive to completion. Then you mention your core values, making sure that you have one core value at least worked into every single meeting that you have, and boom, you're done. And you've been very impactful. Now, the fourth type of meeting that we have is a weekly leadership meeting, and this is 90 minutes. So if you're an executive in an organization, if you're a top level leader, you're going to be attending this meeting. You do an icebreaker for 5 minutes. You do an intro and you dramatize the meeting. And then you do a review of the key metrics. After you review the key metrics, you review your desired future, what you're working to accomplish this year. After you review what you're working to accomplish this year, and every member of the executive team has had their opportunity to report on their section, probably takes 5, maybe 7 minutes for each leader to report on their section. You move forward and deal with each problem or the problem areas that you're facing in moving towards your desired future goals. And then again, as the leader, as the CEO of your organization, make sure you actually mention a core value somewhere throughout this meeting. Boom. We move forward to the biannual and team member review. Now, guys, team member review is about 90 minutes. Typically, I take my team members out to eat somewhere, and if it's led well, it should feel more like a celebration. It shouldn't feel like somebody's banging you over the head. It shouldn't feel some kind of begrudgingly negative experience. It should be a very positive, very hopeful event. And if the team member is doing well, it's a great time to give a raise. If you haven't gone through the KRAs with a specific team member, go through the KRAs with a specific team member to make sure that those KRAs are still accurately representing the work that they're supposed to be doing. Because any team member that does not know why their work matters and what exactly they're supposed to be doing, and that their KRAs, their key result areas, are actually relevant to their position, to the work that they carry out each and every day, so that they can measure their progress, is miserable. Don't allow that to happen for your team. So here you also collect information from the team, how they can improve for the coming year, and you can connect and share really good feedback about the company, the organization, and the vision of the organization. So this is a very special meeting. It's for 90 minutes, biannual, only happens twice per year, and it happens for every team member on your team. You can do this in many different ways, at your house, at a restaurant, picnic, whatever you want, but just do it. And make sure you connect with your team member in this very special way. When you do stuff like this, it opens the door for conversations that you would never thought you would have with your team, and opens the doors for ideas and for them to be more free to share their feedback, to share their thoughts, feelings, intentions, and the things that they're worried about or dealing with, and that you can actually help them in ways that you would never have thought possible. Actually leading as a leader. I'm like, what? You actually have to lead as a leader? Yes, you have to lead as a leader. Now, this quarterly and annual offsite meetings. Guys, I'm trying to give you a full and very comprehensive understanding of the meetings and what meetings you should be having and how to do them. So I hope this is helpful for you. So just hang in there. We've just got a couple more. Number 6 is the above your business and work through creating a desired future statement with your team. Typically, this happens for us every year in the fall. And you create the defining objectives for the forthcoming year. You also talk through the core values. Now, 7 monthly leadership training meetings. So if you have leaders on your team, if you are a leader and you have leaders, stop, pausing for a second. Gonna make sure that everything's working. Looks like we've got a little bit of a problem with the connection. Are we improving? Are we improving? Hold on. What's going on with our connection here? We're getting a little blurry. We're good? We're getting back to good? Okay. All right, let's get back to, it looks like we're doing a little better now. All right. So if you're working through on trying to understand what leadership meetings you should have and make sure that they're implemented well, you need to have the leadership training meeting. And that's where you train younger leaders to become better leaders month after month after month. Now, you can watch a leadership video together. You can talk about a leadership principle. You can create a training plan. You can create a training program on your company's way of doing business and reinforce that information with your leaders. And you can make it a very intentional activity that you develop the leaders in your organization, so that as you go, you don't just get caught off guard when you need new leaders. Are we doing okay back there, guys? Is it so? Guys, I'm sorry with I don't know what's happening here with some of the video stuff going on, but we're going to try to get it figured out. Hopefully you can still hear me loud and clear. If you can, great. And we'll continue on. So guys, as we work through making this an intentional activity. You have new leaders ready to step up when it's time for those leaders to step up. And that's what we're trying to do with making sure that leadership training meetings are happening. So make sure that those are actually a part of your routine monthly program for growing your organization, and you will be better for it. Now, if you need help facilitating any of these meetings, you can hire me as a virtual coach to help you facilitate your next meeting. I will be very happy to do that with you, or I'll be very happy to teach you how to do this. You can just contact us through the contact form, or to click on the link, or click on send us an email, and we will be absolutely happy to assist you in facilitating any meetings or teaching you how to work through and facilitate any of these meetings that you need to have for your organization, whether that's a strategic meeting or whether it's simply learning how to dramatize the meeting so that you can actually effectively engage everyone involved. And guys, I just want to let you know that if you're trying to engage team members that are unengageable, that absolutely don't care, and that no matter what you do and how hard you try, they don't engage, they don't get involved, and they don't really care, then it's a discussion for another type of meeting, which is the hiring and firing section of our organization, or helping team members actually get back on track and drastically improve. And so if you're having trouble and you're with engaging your team after you've tried it again and again and again and again, first of all, you can reach out to me, and you can ask me how we could maybe help train you, or maybe to get a little understand how to get a little bit better at delivering your messages, so that when you deliver them to your team, that they are effective. And then if you have done that really, really well, then it's likely that your team members may not be on the right bus. And if they're not on the right bus in the right company, then you need to help them to be able to go find another bus to get on and go to be in another organization. And that's also a part of leadership. That's also comes out in some of these sessions, and it becomes very, very clear when somebody's not interested. They don't want to get involved. They don't want to overextend themselves. They don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to participate in the discussion. They just want to be there and do their work and go home and never have to deal with anything. If that's the case, if that's what you're facing in some of your meetings, then either we have to dig in as to why this person actually doesn't care about the organization and about us prospering as a whole, or we may need to go ahead and part ways so that that person can move on and find a very happy and joyful opportunity elsewhere, not working with us. Because what we need is engaged people who care deeply, who will drive to results continually, day after day after day, showing up in these meetings, being engaged, and learning how to be able to be led under our leadership styles. Now, don't try here's some real quick pro tips. I'm bringing up the end of this masterclass today. Okay, guys? So do not try implementing all of the meetings at once. It's too hard. It's too heavy. You will probably get so muddled in all of this that you will not be able to carry this forward effectively. So don't try to do that. Start with one at a time. Each meeting builds on the next meeting, starting from the very first meeting, from the daily stand-up meeting to the one-on-one, to the tactical meeting, and so forth. Each meeting builds on the next meeting. So start with one meeting. Just start doing the daily stand-up meetings. It's the easiest to implement. You can just implement it right away and say, guys, we're going to stand up each morning for 15 minutes max, 10, 15 minutes max, and we're going to say what we're going to accomplish by the end of the day. Let's do that. And boom, you get up, you stand up, you do that, you connect, you talk about a core value, and boom, you're on your way. Okay, so just start with that one, and then start implementing the other ones. And if you have any questions about any of them, please send us a message. I know it can be confusing. I know it can be daunting. I know it can be challenging. And I know as you look at the meeting stuff, if you've had bad experiences before, or experiences where the leader simply gets up and says a whole bunch of stuff, and then everybody kind of goes their separate directions without any other involvement, I know that's discouraging, and transitioning from that to an actual active meeting environment is very difficult for many people. So definitely reach out. We can definitely help you with that. All right. So good meetings. I want you to kind of get this seared into your mind. Good meetings are time savers, not time wasters. If you do meetings well, consistently, they save massive energy, time, and drive incredible results. All right. Good meetings accelerate decision making to a rapid warp speed pace and eliminate the need to revisit issues again and again and again and again because nobody heard about it in the last 6 meetings because they were all asleep. Okay, so let's eliminate those types of issues. Let's drive forwards, having incredible meetings. And guys, I just want to thank you for spending this hour with me today. It's been a pleasure delivering this content with you. If there's something that I love more than anything else, it is being able to help companies do better in the area of facilitating their leadership and business. And so I really hope that you got a lot out of this meeting today, that it was very chock full of information and helpful knowledge for you on how to make that transition from manager to leader, and that you're able to take and put some work clothes on this. If there are any questions at all, and I know there might be because I worked through it really quickly, please send me a message and I'll be happy to assist you with those questions. And by the way, I have just recorded an really powerful course on building an unbreakable life. Now, it's not out yet, and we're still going through the process of developing it, editing it, and making it available, but it's going to be going up on the website, jasonellinger.com. We just released the website last week. Go check it out if you want to have a look at it, jasonellinger.com. And we're going to be updating it every single week from here on forwards. And you will be able to see the course that's going to be available there in just a few weeks as we get everything assembled and uploaded. And it's a really powerful course where I really walk through a lot of the elements of building an unbreakable life. And I walk through the balance formula that I use in my own life to create that unbreakable foundation that no matter what comes in life, even with the shakings and the quakings of life, and sometimes the wind blows, you might be shakeable, but you're not unbreakable. So check that out and be ready and be expecting that to pop up sometime in the near future. And I look forward to seeing you again next week at the same time in the same place as we work through the issue of building your team. I spoke about vulnerability-based trust in the last meeting. And in this meeting, I understood that from the last course, I understood that we needed to move right into what types of meetings, how to facilitate those. And now that you know that information, the next very powerful step is to build strong teams. And so we're going to go over that in the next masterclass. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, that you like the video, and that you show up next week at the same time, the same place. And we're going to nail that one with giving you all the information that you need to be able to build your team. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.